When we discuss about accrued expenses, it means that the expense is piling up. It accumulates over time until we pay for it. An example is utilities expense. When we use electricity, the expense is piling up every time we turn on the light. If there was no year end, it would be very easy. The problem arises when the year end is before the payment date. Let's take a look at an example that we have seen before when we were making the journal entries. We incurred utilities expense of $500 from November 15 to December 15. We paid for it on December 15. The journal entry would be like this. The entry we made is easy because we do not have the year end before the payment date. Let's take a look at a more complicated example then. Now we incurred another $500 of utilities expense from December 15 to January 15. We have to pay on January 15th. As you can see from the figure, December 31st is between December 15 and January 15. From December 15th to December 31st, we have incurred $250 of utilities expense. This is the adjusting entry. We have to recognize the utilities expense of $250. If we don't, we will be lying to our investors. So the adjusting entry on December 31st will look like this. We credit utilities payable because we do not pay on December 31st, but we owe. On January 15th, we need to pay the full $500 from December 15th to January 15th. When we pay $500 cash, cash decreases for $500 and therefore we credit it. We also need to recognize the additional $250 utilities expense from December 31st to January 15th. We did not recognize that one, remember? Therefore, we debit utilities expense. On December 31st, we recorded a liability, the utilities payable of $250. Since we paid the full amount on January 15th, we do not owe anymore, and therefore we decrease the liability by debiting it for $250. This is the journal entry. Reversing entries are not required by GAAP, but they are very useful in practice. It makes our lives much easier. Reversing entries are exactly what their name suggests. We are reversing the adjusting entry. What was credited now is debited. What was debited now is credited. The reversing entries are usually recorded on January 1st after the adjusting entry was made and after the financial statements were prepared. So basically, you remember this adjusting entry we had. To reverse this adjusting entry on January 1st, we would debit utilities payable and credit utilities expense. Just like the adjusting entry never happened. The balances in both utilities expense and utilities payable are now zero. So when we make the payment on January 15th, we simply debit utilities expense for $500 and credit cash for $500.